Strictly speaking, there are two tenses in English, past and present. To talk about future, we have to add the modal verb will or use present continuous. But for argument's sake, we can call that a tense, so that's three, past, present and future. What about all the others? Well, what most people call tenses are in fact aspects. So if we include these tense aspect combinations, that comes to 12. If you want your English to sound natural, you have to learn to use all of them. So here I'm going to attempt to briefly explain the 12 basic tenses in 12 minutes. First, it helps to picture them in a logical way, so we'll use this table to help. We've got present, past and future. Then you've got the different aspects, which are simple, continuous, perfect and perfect continuous. Let's start with the simplest of all the tenses. Present simple. It's used for regular actions. For example, I go to the gym 3 times a week.
Usually I go to bed at 8 or 9 a.m. and wake up around 5 p.m.
Habits, routines, and also for schedules, like my plane leaves at 6 o'clock or the film starts at 8. We use the first form of a verb, but remember, if you're talking about he, she, or it, you need to add an S at the end of the verb. Words to watch out for in this tense are usually, every, often, seldom, rarely, always, regularly, sometimes, hardly ever, today, on Monday, never. Next, we've got past simple. We use this to describe single actions that happened in the past, but that don't focus on the result in the present. It's for telling stories or describing a sequence of actions. To form the past simple, the verb needs to be in the second form. So if it's a regular verb, add ed, and if it's an irregular verb, you need to know the second form of that verb. For negatives in this tense, you need didn't, like he didn't arrive on time. And for questions, you need did.
No, and I did not ask her to marry me.
Yes, you did.
No, I didn't.
Yes, you did.
No, I didn't.
Yes, you did. And don't you say you didn't.
Remember, when you use did or didn't, the verb is in the first form. Some typical words in this tense are yesterday, the day before yesterday, last week, last month, last year, ago, like a week ago, the other day, in 2002 for example, once, when, and suddenly. Future simple is another easy tense to pick up and is obviously used to talk about future actions, mainly for spontaneous decisions, for example if you're ordering food.
I'll have what she's having.
We also use this tense when you're not 100% sure about the future action. For example, maybe I'll move house next year. I'm not really sure yet. Future uses the modal verb will with the negative form won't. The words to use with this tense are tomorrow, the day after tomorrow, next week, next month, next year, etc. Soon, later, one day, one of these days, in an hour, in a day, week, month, year, etc. and in the future. Now for continuous tenses, or as they're more helpfully called in American English, progressive tenses. These are actions in progress, longer actions. All these tenses use ing at the end of the verb. One thing to remember is that with all continuous tenses we can't use some verbs, that is stated verbs like want, need, prefer, love, hate, like, understand, believe, basically non-action verbs. Present continuous is more often used for actions happening now or around now. For this tense you need a form of the verb be, so am, is or are, and verb plus ing. For example, I'm making a video, or what are you doing? You can use this tense to describe something you're in the middle of, but not necessarily doing right now.
Are you tweeting about me?
Am I tweeting about you?
Are you Upriser 7?
What are you talking about?
Someone's gossiping online about me.
Another way we use this tense is to talk about future actions that are 100% certain. I'm going to London in March, for example. I'm staying with my family. I'm 100% sure of this because I've booked the tickets and I've made arrangements. So the words you commonly see with this tense are now, right now, at the moment, today, still, currently, these days, this week, this month, this year, constantly. Future continuous is used to talk about things that will be in progress at a certain time in the future. For example, this time next week, I will be hiking in the mountains.
Tonight I'll be watching a show rated MA, and that stands for Mature Audiences, Buster.
Past continuous is to talk about longer actions in the past. We often use this when we have two different events happening at the same time, and for this we can use past simple and past continuous in the same sentence. One event starts and then continues for a while, and another event interrupts that first event. For example, I was walking in the park the other day when I saw a man riding an elephant. Walking in the park started first, and then I continued walking when suddenly I saw the man. What was he doing when I saw him? He was riding an elephant. This action was already in progress when I saw him. Riding and walking are the longer actions, and saw is a short action. So now for the tenses that perhaps cause the most problems. Perfect. While the simple tenses are definite moments in time, perfect tenses connect two time frames. Present perfect connects past to present, past perfect connects one past moment to another past moment, and future perfect connects all of these times to the future. Firstly, present perfect. Present perfect is a present tense, not a past tense. I know it talks about something that happened in the past, but it's not focusing on the details of that past action. For that, we use past simple. Present perfect focuses on the result in the present. For example, I've already eaten. It doesn't matter when I ate, but that I'm full now. Or I haven't eaten, which means I'm hungry now.
My hounds will never harm me.
You haven't fed them in 7 days, you said it yourself.
For this tense, we use have or has plus third form. For regular verbs, that's just adding ed again, and for irregular verbs, well, you have to learn them. Typical words used in this tense are ever, never, since, for, just, already, yet, recently, lately, before, always, so far, at last, all my life, all morning, all day, for example. Past perfect is when you have two events in the past and one happened before the other one. The one that happened first is past perfect. It's like past of the past, as far back in time as you can get. So let's say you're telling a story about the past and you're using past simple for the main events. If you want to talk about something that happened before those main events, use past perfect. For example, I started watching a film the other day and 5 minutes in I realised I had already seen it. The main event of this sentence is that I started watching a film, but I saw the film before these main events. For this tense we use had plus third form. Future perfect talks about a result in the future. It's formed with will plus have plus third form. For example, I will have finished this video in about 3 minutes. The action we're talking about in this tense must have some sort of deadline or completion time. We know when this action will be completed.
It's time travel, Leonard. I will have already done that.
To make it negative, use won't. For example, don't come at 7 o'clock, I won't have finished my homework. And to ask questions, use will, such as, okay, if I come over at 8, will you have finished it by then? Now we come to perfect continuous tenses. They focus on time spent doing something. Present perfect continuous shows that something started in the past and is continuing now, or a long action that has only recently stopped. We use has or have plus been plus verb plus ing. Remember that with all the continuous tenses we can't use stated verbs. So while I can say I've been listening to music since I was a child, I can't say I've been believing in God since I was a child. For that, I would have to say I have believed in God since I was a child, if it were true. This tense is used when we are emphasizing the length of time spent on the action or the actual action itself, unlike present perfect, which focuses on the result of the action. I can say that I've been playing piano since I was a child, or I've played piano since I was a child, with very little difference in meaning. But with some verbs, the difference is evident. For example, I've been waiting for hours. Where is he? I'm still waiting now, and I'm focused on the length of time that I've been doing this.
I've been waiting for you, Obi-Wan. We meet again at last.
Or, I've waited long enough, I'm going home. Here I'm focused on the fact that the waiting has culminated in some sort of result, the fact that I've decided to go home as a result of waiting too long. Another example is with the verb study or learn, which you're unlikely to use in perfect simple. I've been learning Russian for 5 years now. Past perfect continuous is exactly the same, you just move it into the past. So if we take I've been learning Russian for 5 years now and move it 4 years ago, it becomes 4 years ago I had only been learning Russian for a year, so I couldn't really understand anyone.
I don't understand a word you just said.
Future perfect continuous is exactly the same but in the future. In 2 years I will have been learning Russian for 7 years. So for these perfect continuous tenses we use the same keywords as for the perfect simple tenses. So for present perfect continuous we use has or have, for past perfect continuous we use had, and for future perfect continuous we use will have, and for all of them we need to add been plus verb plus ing. So if you've made it to the end of the video, thanks so much for watching.
God, that was so intense!
I hope this was helpful. Obviously it's only a brief guide, but it should at least show that English isn't totally illogical.
If future Biff goes back to 2015 right after he gives young Biff the almanac, he could get back to the 2015 with Marty and Doc in it, because it wasn't until his 21st birthday that 1955 Biff placed his first bet.
Whoa. Is placed right?
What do you mean?
Is placed the right tense for something that would have happened in the future of a past that was affected by something from the future?
Had will have placed?
That's my boy.